are Grok Talk. Welcome to the middle of the third segment. We'll call it 3B of our 100th program. We are on Spreaker, TuneIn, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and of course at GraniteGrok.com. Haven't reminded you yet, check out cnht.org. Our willing sponsors here by allowing us to pile our junk up in the middle of one of their rooms. I won't call it anything else. I call it a studio, but let's be honest, it doesn't look like one. All right, we have about 7 minutes left in this segment, and then we're going to run through some legislation in the next segment, whatever strikes our fancy. We could do the WTF. We got time for that.
Okay, so
I actually picked a couple. What do we got? We got unions, $15, not for us. We've got Jeff Woburn and his bottom feeder tax cut issue. What else happened this week?
Ramadi fell, unless I'm a
Ramadi fell. That was pretty bad.
SB 221.
SB 221
is a bill that came in front of the. It wasn't voted on. We just had a hearing. It was a joint House-Senate hearing on the Hall of Reps, and they are trying to have the PSNH divest itself of an asset. They're estimating they'll get $100 million from the sale. Here's the problem. The scrubber alone is worth $450 million, and the rest of the facility is worth at least $500 million. So they would be they're talking about getting rid of a $1 billion facility for $100 million, and to get the best deal possible, they're going to use the ratepayers, which is
us,
to I forget the exact term, back up and guarantee the return on investment. So it sounded like a good deal when they were talking about saving us 10% on our utilities, but as we start looking into the details, it starts looking more and more like SB 113.
So we're gonna be on the hook for like I don't know, $900 million, something like that.
Well,
how much is PSNH EverSource supposed to get back?
The sale, they were estimating $100 million.
Okay, and then that doesn't cover the cost. They've obviously got more costs sunk into that facility.
Right.
So that means we get...
Are they? I mean, is it a benefit to them to get it off their back? Is that what it is, or
it makes absolutely no logical sense to me. I can't figure out the rhyme or reason. It sounds like another Balsam's bill.
Susan, if you're listening, we're going to have a conversation about this because you'd be more likely to know than anybody else.
Yeah, that's our in-house power engineer, Miss Susan.
So they had another one of those presentations, a sales pitch of sorts, and we're going to be looking into it a little bit more, and we'll discuss it probably Tuesday morning and again Wednesday morning and see what the deal is on that. It just, something just doesn't feel right about that bill. So the way that they're jimmying with the numbers, a good honest bill is one where they just do one thing, not where they bundle a whole bunch of different things together as some kind of deal.
And aren't they
taxpayers
Aren't they still trying to pay off the scrubber? I mean, that was...
That's my understanding is that was a 1996 decision by the legislature. There was no cost limit put on it, and it turned into a fiasco, went way into cost overruns. And I'm not sure if there's still bonds on it or not, but remember, this is 20 years ago. They make decisions like this, and perhaps they're not doing due diligence, or perhaps they're not doing the research, or perhaps somebody's related to someone else, and contracts go out to someone's sister's cousin's brother, and we're on the hook for millions and millions of dollars for things like this. Now, luckily, we do have the New Hampshire State House, so while other states are pushing through light rail boondoggle after commuter rail boondoggle after bailout after bailout after bailout, most of the time in New Hampshire, these kinds of bailouts and sweetheart deals get killed in the State House. But the State Senate has not shown any opposition, as far as I can see, to SB 221. Then we all received an email about another bill, SB 179, which came out of the Election Law Committee. Now, this is the interesting thing that came from the House, quote-unquote, Republican office, using my bunny ear quotation marks. We were told that our committee whips would be getting a hold of us in the next few days about asking our opinions and our positions, whether or not we're going to be there Wednesday, how we're going to be voting on SB 221, 179, and 133. And then, of course, making their case for or against these bills. Now, SB 179. There was recently a New Hampshire Supreme Court case where they said that the previous election law dealing with domiciles was too vague. The definition wasn't clear enough. So they've come up with another definition in response. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the new definition in this bill is much clearer than the old definition.
Somebody should amend it with the definition in Black's Law Dictionary. That ought to clear it up.
Or Webster's. I think that
even Webster got it better. Yeah, I would believe that.
Well, what is a domicile? What does it mean when you say that you intend to continue to live here after the election? What does it mean when you have lived here? Does it mean that you've just spent the night here as a campaign volunteer for a few weeks?
Well, I think we've got the law book out there in the office that in Black's. We have a copy of Black's Law Dictionary somewhere as well, and there's a very specific difference between domicile and residence. We had Ed Nail on last week, and a few weeks before that, we covered every time he comes in. There's a very specific legal definition which has no applicability to anything that happens in New Hampshire whatsoever, except, well, with regard to voting. It does apply to other things. For example, if you want to go to UNH, where you can vote in New Hampshire if you're from, say, Texas, but you have to pay out-of-state tuition because you don't live in New Hampshire, but you can vote here. So there's a situation where domicile makes a difference.
And yet, because they get to vote here, other states don't allow you to do that. Some other states don't allow you to do that. Because they get to vote here, they get to complain and say, hey, why do I have to pay out-of-state tuition? I live in New Hampshire. Even though I'm from
It's been a while
Hawaii
since we've pushed that.
or Massachusetts.
They've tried that in the past, that if you vote here, you get to pay in-state tuition. And
Right.
that didn't go over very well with the Democrats, of course. But if we had a Republican governor and a Republican legislature, we could fix it. But until we have a Republican governor and a Republican legislature, we can't fix it.
Right, because we could make UNH pay the price of letting their little kiddies vote.
Right. So we either get them to enforce it by saying if they vote and they pay out-of-state tuition, the next year they pay in-state tuition. UNH couldn't operate because they're so mismanaged now as it is. They waste money like nobody's business. And all it does is, and then you've got the student loan deal, the scam, free money basically. The government backs the loans. The colleges keep raising the tuition because they know they can get the money. And then the students are stuck with the debt. The government's sitting there waiting, going, well, we might be able to help you. Excellent.
Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns.
Yeah, and everybody becomes an indentured loan slave.
Right, to the U.S. government. And we got rid of indentured servitude quite a while ago. Yes, if you want passage to the New World.
So there's another bill. There's a little bit of turmoil in the community college system. There's also been some mismanagement there. Other states are going to four-year programs. Community colleges and technical schools are offering four-year programs. It turns out it's a huge money saver instead of costing money because they can attract a larger number of students. They can amortize their costs. They can fill their classrooms. They can add additional courses. They don't have to turn as many students away because they have 3 different college composition classes or 5.
And they're relatively low priced, and now they can compete with the big universities for a lot less bucks.
Under $3,000 a semester.
And they can use...
I know because I have 2 kids going to community college.
And I am going to community college also. So
yeah.
I just...
My grandson's
10
going
seconds. We're going on break.
Going to community college.
We're going to come back and continue this conversation. I got to cut you off, Mike. Sorry, we got to do our business, and I'm going to wait for this to go down to 29 minutes. There we go. Be right back.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. The Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW New Hampshire Family Radio and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
Rock.